Hello, my name is Brandon Honey, and I'm one of the loss prevention reps with the TML Risk Pool, and I'd like to welcome you to today's presentation, Ready for the Call initiative. Ready for the Call is a program that was developed by the Mesquite Fire Department after they recognized a problem with patient handling and physical fitness injuries and how those two problems overlap. In today's presentation, we're going to discuss some firefighter injury statistics. We'll also introduce you to Ready for the Call and to Deputy Chief Bruce Kuntz of the Mesquite Fire Department. And after Chief Kuntz visits with us, I'm going to offer some findings and recommendations from the analysis that was conducted. When we look at patient handling injuries and physical fitness injuries, we can see that over about a 70-month time period, there were about 10,700 injuries for firefighters and EMTs. Those are all the injuries, and all of those injuries resulted in about $65 million worth of losses. And the average of those injuries is about $6,000 per injury. What is significant here is that patient handling and physical fitness injuries are about $700 and $900 more per injury on average. That tells us that these are among the most expensive types of injuries that firefighters and EMTs face. But let's go a little bit deeper and look at the loss codes. Loss codes are what we assign to each individual claim to help us understand a little bit more about what the action was that the employee was doing whenever the injury occurred. And there are three types of loss codes that really kind of stood out in the analysis. One was miscellaneous strain, another is lifting, and the third being pushing and pulling. But what is interesting to note here is that of the 1,299 lifting claims over that 70-month time period, 941 were related to patient handling and physical fitness. That comes out to 72% of all lifting injuries are related to these two types of activities. Mesquite Fire Department conducts a quarterly accident review board, and they have done an outstanding job of reducing injuries and vehicle wrecks as a result of that initiative. And what they recognized was a problem that existed with patient handling and physical fitness, and they developed what they call Ready for the Call. And Ready for the Call is a 4-level program. In the Mesquite Fire Department, all fire and EMS personnel are required to work out 30 minutes per day. Ready for the Call, however, is a voluntary program. And the first level is a rowing machine. A rowing machine relates to many types of pushing, pulling, and lifting activities that firefighters and EMTs do day in and day out. The second level is a sandbag program that Deputy Chief Kuntz is going to explain in just a little bit in one of the videos. This is a very good program that I've actually incorporated into my personal workout regimen. Level 3 is the Mesquite Fire Department's workout of the day. This is actually emailed to personnel, and they can choose to do that workout each day. And the fourth and most difficult level is Ready for the Call. It is a very involved process. And this is important to note about Ready for the Call. All of their workout regimens are functional in nature. What they have done is they have designed a program that mimics actual firefighter and EMT operations and operational tasks so that their workout regimen actually helps them as they prepare for daily activities. Now I want to introduce you to Deputy Chief Bruce Kuntz of the Mesquite Fire Department. Chief Kuntz started his career with Mesquite in 1988 and was promoted to training an EMS chief in 2015. I've spent a lot of time with Chief Kuntz over the last year and a half or so. I consider him a friend. He is a really salt-of-the-earth person who's dedicated his life to helping people professionally and every way that he can personally through his faith. Where did the idea for this program come from? What was it that you saw that you felt like there was a need for something different?
Well, one of my titles is that I'm over the Accident and Injury Review Board that we meet quarterly, and Brandon, you're a part of that as an advisor. And there's a lot of things that I saw as far as injuries that are just happenstance. You know, it just, sometimes an accident is an accident. But one of the trends that I noticed was that patient handling came up over and over again, whether it was a back injury or someone pulled something in the back of their forearm for a lost time injury. And this seemed to be something that wasn't being addressed. Most of the other things, whether it's equipment or apparatus, it seems like over the last 30 years, there have been great strides in increasing the safety of those things. But one of the things that started coming up into my mind was, what have we done for our bodies? What have we done physically to prepare ourselves for this job? And so that is kind of what got me started. It seemed like there was a big hole. You know, sometimes I think my life is like water, where I just seek the low spot and I fill it in. And this seemed to be a low spot to me. You know, the apparatus when I was here, I mean, one of my first runs, I caught the tailboard of a small truck and didn't get the safety strap on in time. And I thought that was the last run of my life, at first week of my job. And now we have, you know, 5-point harnesses, 6-point harnesses in the ambulances. Just the equipment and the apparatus have increased so much in safety, but what have we done physically? And in this department, we have put in some exercise equipment, but there's never been really a focus on where we should go with it. And I realized we needed some kind of targeted program. And just before I pitched it to the fire chief, one of our members injured his lower back deadlifting. And to me, that is, down the road, that's one of the foundational things that we need to be doing as firefighters, is increasing our chassis strength. And so I had to sell the chief on a program of heavy lifting right when one of our guys got hurt lifting heavy weights. And so the way I kind of approached that angle was, we need to teach people how to do this, and you can't just go in and start doing it. There's a lot of steps that you have to do leading up to something like a deadlift. So much of it had to do with patient handling, but also, like, we had a low back injury from someone carrying a heavy medical bag up the stairs. And we had one where a gentleman was lifting the base or the foot of a stretcher, just lifting it up over the curb, and he tore or separated a tendon in his elbow. And he was off for a few months. And so not only was exercise or trying to increase your capacity something that came into my head here, another thought I had was, do we know how to lift properly? Are we doing the right things to protect ourselves? And so I got to researching that. And a lot of different things that I had been looking at started to come together.
What have you put in place as far as your physical fitness program to try to eliminate some of the physical fitness type injuries? What changes have you made?
Well, we're starting slow. This is a huge culture change for this fire department. It seems like, you know, you have to pass a physical to prove that you can get on with this department, and then there's no follow-up. And so it's really up to the individual as to whether or not they stay in shape. We've changed that in this department. I feel like we're fairly forward in that. Now all the members have every other year mandatory. They have to pass the same entrance exam that the new hires do. And actually the younger guys have to do a lot better time than the new hires. One other thing that we're doing is we are training specific to what the job requires. And we try to keep the total training at 30 minutes or less. CrossFit, to me, can be a dirty word in the fire department, because if you overtrain, you know, you train to exhaustion, or you do negatives until you can't lift your arms anymore. We can't do that. We have to be ready for the call. But what I see in the fire department is there's two main things that we have to train for. One is patient handling. And so to me, that's mobility of the joints, being able to get down to the patient to get them off the ground in a good position. And to have the capacity or the strength to do it. And so that's where the weightlifting comes in. But the other one is on a fire ground. We are a high-intensity, short-duration profession, and it's an anaerobic style exercise. You have to be able to recover. It's like hockey players, you know, they go crazy for 2 minutes or a minute, and then they rest 2, and then they're ready to go again. We have to train to where we can do that, because that's what we do on the fire ground. We wear ourselves out for 15 minutes, we take a blow, 10, 15 minutes later, we throw on another bottle, and we should be able to go back in and go hard. And those are the two things: the patient handling, the fire ground. And so we need to work on our capacity to lift heavy weights, and then we have to work on our anaerobic abilities. There was a study that I heard a doctor talk about, and he really cares about the fire service, and he said they did a set of one group of firefighters, and they told them, look, get in as good of shape as you can in a gym. And they didn't give them any direction, and they got in really good shape. And then they did another group of firefighters and said, we're going to train you towards your job, the foundations of your job. And what they found out in this study was that the firefighters that just got really fit in the gym actually had a higher incidence of injury rates than before they started working out. But the group that was exercising towards the functionality of their profession, those actually decrease their injuries. You know, sometimes when you're a chief, I guess you got to make chief decisions and then explain it to the bigger chiefs. As far as the membership, I think what they've seen is that I'm trying for them, and that I made an argument in our fire chief's office that if we gave them the equipment and the programs and the support, that you wouldn't have to do anything else. You wouldn't have to have monetary incentives. You wouldn't have to have any of those accessory incentives to get them to do the job. Just the fact that you cared and that you were giving them direction. And so far, that's it. And I've had several people come up to me or say, hey, someone told me, you know, they wanted to say thank you for what you're doing, and that it's already showing positive results.
Now, I hope that you gleaned a lot of useful information from Deputy Chief in that visit. And what we're going to do now is actually go to one of the fire stations where they have this workout program implemented. And Chief Kuntz is going to demonstrate many of the types of activities that they have found to be functional in nature and actually benefit their fire and EMS personnel on the fire ground and on the medical emergency grounds.
So like I said, like for us, the rower is kind of like a baseline if you aren't really trained up on anything, but you really want to get a good aerobic capacity, get started. You can do 20-minute daily workouts on that. For us, the second layer of exercising would be kind of a sandbag workout because it mimics a patient, the sand, because it's floppy. And it'll increase your grip strength. And so we'll do
How much weight do you exercise?
well, it's configurable. Right now there's a 40-pound bag in there. And we got it set up to where you can do as little as a 10-pound bag itself. I don't know if it's here. We have one that's just 10 pounds, and you can just use the bag, the filler bag. But we've got it configured to where you can go from 30 pounds to 130 pounds, depending on how you load this bag. And it can handle all of that. And so there's all sorts of different things that you would do in a circuit. And if it's alternating, like I've got one on the wall where you run and then you do some stuff with the sandbag. If it alternates like that, then 2 people can do it together. Since we have 2 sandbag setups here, 4 people can do the same exercise as long as you're on the sandbag and off. And so with this one of the exercises I did this morning is called a high pull, where you just do this. And what I was saying about this earlier, like in a clean, for instance, if you do a clean with bad form, if you're out from your body, you can't hang on to it. You have to get this thing inside.
And the purpose of that is to teach your body to create the muscle memory to keep that load close to your body versus
Yes. And also to help you, it helps all those stabilizer muscles I was talking about to help your back, because we don't handle patients in isolation. It's not like walking up to a squat bar and everything's perfect. You know, we pick up a patient and they can be just a blob of goo, and you got to hang on to it. So you do a push press. If you don't have the right balance, it's coming down. And when you get tired and you lose your fine motor skills, it's coming down. And so, Parker, come here. You ever done a sandbag before? You have? Good. Perfect. You need to do a shoulder slam. You know what that is? You'll be beside it. You'll pick it up, bring it to your shoulder, throw it down. Pick it up, bring it to your other shoulder, and throw it down. Okay? So just stand beside it. Or yeah, I do it in the middle. But you got to get your butt down, and this is the thing that we don't want. We want that to be flat at all times. Go ahead. Up to one shoulder, throw. Up to one shoulder, throw. So you do like 10. This stuff is cumulative in a good way. You start to get tired and you've got to hold your, this is 40 pounds. It took me about 6 weeks to get to 40 or 30. It wears you out over time.
How does this relate to fire operations? What does this teach? How to be able to do it?
So much of this is chassis, okay? Because what we do is low to the ground. And so whether we're pulling that sled or we're picking this up and slamming it down, you think about the movements that we make on the fire ground is, you know, you're pulling ceiling. And anybody who's ever done it, who's not practiced for it, you think you're in good shoulder shape, then you put on the fire gear, and then you put on the SCBA, and you've got all that restriction and all the adrenaline, and then you go and you throw 3 times and you're like, oh my God, I have to do this a 4th? Because it's not just that. And so this can help even with the breach, because you pick this thing up and it's a dynamic move. And since it's loose, it's using more muscles than just pulling a bar up off the ground.
I guess so. Begin to develop the eye a little bit more is whenever you're restricted to free rolls, you're restricted in your movement. And what this does is it helps to teach those ancillary muscles to be able to work in unison, so that whenever you're out there on the fire ground, you can use all of your body and all of your muscles to do the things that you need to do.
Exactly, because what I was talking about with Parker is, you know, you want to stabilize your back and you want to have it isolated to where it's flat on the fire ground. Good luck. You know, you're going to get yourself in a compromising position. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to minimize those compromising positions, but when you have to get in them, you have trained the muscles around it. So when you're lifting a patient, or you're pulling hose, or you're forcing a door, you've got that in your muscle memory, and you've trained those sideways and torsional muscles to where it's not a shock to them. It's not something brand new to them. And the anaerobic part of it, where if you do something like the shoulder slam, and then the next thing is you just put this thing around your shoulder and you go for a 200-meter run, and then you come back and you do what's called a bear crawl. Nick, come here. You ever done a bear crawl?
Yes, sir.
With the sandbag?
No, sir.
All right, so you're right here. These guys are my first day guys, so that's why I'm telling them what to do. You're gonna bear crawl until your feet get to here. And then you're gonna reach through your legs with one arm and pull it forward. Bear crawl, reach through. One more time and then turn around. And do it again. So this in itself is not that hard, and it depends on the floor, because on the waxed red floor it's a lot easier.
There's more resistance here.
Yeah, he had more resistance. But if you do 50 foot of this, after you did 25 shoulder slams, after you ran 200 meters with it around your shoulders, and then you do 3 rounds of this, you start getting worn out, and that's what mimics the fire ground. It's that high intensity anaerobic capacity, and so that's part of it, is getting your cardiac ready. Is you're getting your cardiovascular system ready to run without oxygen to get that faster recovery, because that's what we do. And what we were talking about earlier, and Keith, see that black ball right there? That's next to the bench. Pick that up, please. And what I want you to do is I want you to stand right about, there's too many weights right now. Stand over here. Okay. Face the wall. And what you're going to do, you're going to hold it at shoulder level. Okay? You're going to go down in a squat. You're going to explode up, and you're going to try to hit the wall above that high piece of wood, and then catch it on your way down and do that. Okay? Jump. No jump, but it's an explosion up. Okay? So you got to start down, push up, now catch it. Now, if it gets too far forward, just let it fall. Okay? Do that 10 times. This can help with pulling ceiling. And see, you gotta catch the thing. It's only 20 pounds, but it's also helping your chassis because you gotta go down and up. So it helps you with pulling ceiling. It helps your balance, and it also helps all that the stability on your muscles.
It's interesting, whenever you said it helps your balance, he took
Lost
a
his
stumble
balance.
backwards right then. You know, and him being new to this, something that he can practice and help develop that balance.
Well, and the reason I wanted these guys to be doing this is I haven't seen them since we interviewed them for the job. This is their first day. Some of them have done some of this stuff, like Keith has never done that before, and he was able to do it without any problem. You can feel it, the dynamic on your shoulders, right? You can drop that. And that's the thing. The bear crawl that Nick did, you know, the sleds that those guys were pulling, those in and of themselves are no big deal. They didn't really get tired at all pulling the sleds. Nick probably had a little bit of an issue pulling that sandbag on a bear crawl just because it was on a rubber mat and not on a wax floor. But you add all that stuff together, then you're mimicking the fire ground. And if it's not enough for you and you're not winded, it's a sandbag. Put more weight on it. And just like I talked about, making this easy for you, you can download an app on your phone and get a workout of the day for sandbags. And it's free. And so I don't have to keep track of this stuff. You know, they'll just input that they did a sandbag workout.
What is the app that can be downloaded from the sandbags?
The one that comes with that, it's like, it comes with the bag that you buy. Yeah.
What I really like about the program that you have is it is structured, it's tailored for fire operations,
right,
and you're giving them some direction. Say you tell them you can do how far you want to go,
right,
but if you're going to do these things, this is how you'll do it. So you give them a little bit of leeway, but you also give them some structure. So I think
exactly.
From a loss prevention standpoint, we can certainly appreciate what you do. Bruce, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Really enjoyed it.
I'm glad you came out. It's always good to see you.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed Chief Kuntz's presentation and found a lot of good information that you can use as you begin to develop your own program for functional fitness. What I would like to do now is to offer some findings and recommendations that I found as a result of the analysis for this presentation. One of the first things that I would like for you to understand is the cumulative effect of musculoskeletal disorders. Musculoskeletal disorder is, just like the name implies, a disorder of the muscles or the skeletal system. And if you have a firefighter or an EMT that lifts a load again and again and again, regardless of what it is that they're doing, eventually it can lead to an injury later on down the line. So the more physically fit a firefighter or EMT is, the less likely they are to get hurt in the future. I actually referenced an article for this program. It's published by the Professional Safety Journal of the American Society of Safety Professionals. The title of the article is Musculoskeletal Disorders in EMS. And according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Firefighters, EMTs are 7 times more likely to get hurt than those in private industry. The National Association of EMTs conducted a survey of its membership, and what they found is 47% of EMS personnel report suffering a back injury while performing necessary job duties. That's a significant number of injuries. The authors for this article also conducted a survey of 115 fire and EMS personnel, and of those 115 personnel, about 28% felt as though there were no interventions to prevent these types of injuries. Well, as we have demonstrated today, that is just not the case. One only needs to do the task and the work to dig a little bit deeper and develop a program that is functional in nature to prepare people for the operations that they're going to do day in and day out. So what are some other ideas that we can work into a functional fitness program? Well, let's look at team lifting. And again, these are actual injuries that I pulled out of the analysis that stood out in addition to patient handling and physical fitness. Team lifting exercises to team lift fans, ice chests, foam buckets, any and everything to do with hose operations, be it rolling, loading, lifting, carrying, or deploying hose. Those were a significant portion of injuries to firefighters and EMTs. Also carrying objects like hospital packs, some people call them hose packs, EMS bags, and chainsaws. In addition to these things, we need to ask some difficult questions. The fitness programs that are being incorporated at this time, are they truly benefiting the firefighters and the EMTs? Are they benefiting the public and the taxpayers that pay our salaries and our wages? A big activity that many people like to participate in is CrossFit. There were several injuries related to flipping tires. We need to ask ourselves, how does flipping a tire relate to fire and EMS operations? Football, basketball, and throwing frisbees. While these are fun pastimes, whenever they lead to injuries, we need to ask the question, do we need to be doing this on shift? And believe it or not, there was actually one injury in this analysis due to throwing a frisbee that cost $31,000. That's a pretty significant injury. And finally, we need to look at how to get on and off and in and out of vehicles. There are a large portion of injuries that are related to this type of activity. Always remember, 2 hands and 1 foot or 2 feet and 1 hand. Always face the vehicle when getting on and off. Well, I want to thank you for watching today's presentation of Ready for the Call, and I hope that it has inspired you to develop your own functional fitness program and help prepare your firefighters and your EMTs to stay safe on a job and have a long, happy, and healthy career. Thank you.